Welcome to the Like a Doss podcast, where Ronnie Doss shares insights regarding life, leadership, and personal development. For more of our resources, visit ronniedoss.com. Now, let's join the podcast.
Hey there, it's Ronnie Doss. Welcome to the Like a Doss podcast. Today, I'm super excited because I have my main lady, Miss Jennifer Doss here. You're here.
I'm here.
Say hi.
The most important podcast guest you'll ever have.
That's
Hi.
exactly right. Hi, everybody. So Jen is here, and we're going to talk today about what works in relationship. I get asked a lot. People will say, what is it that's the key? How do you guys do it? Jen and I have been together this coming year. 16 years we've been together. We have two daughters, Addison and Kennedy. And I get asked to work with a lot of people on relationship to their spouse, significant other, their teams, and how they relate to themselves and what's going on for them. But people ask, like your marriage, Ronnie, how does that work? What is the key to it? You guys seem to be really great together. And we are. I mean, we are the real deal of what you would see. There's no front. We're not playing some role. We haven't created avatars where we act like we're happy and silly and fun. We are that. We have a cool life, and we enjoy each other's company, and we're happy with the family we've built. And I know I am very grateful for it. And so I thought it'd be a great idea to have Jennifer come and be a part of this podcast episode and just talk about some of the things that worked really well for us. And so, Jen, out of the gate, what's something that you think is really, really important as it pertains to what makes our relationship work?
Well, first, let me say, when going back to what you said, is people will say, what's the key? There is no the key. It's a lot of keys, and I think it takes a lot of work, no matter where you are in your marriage or what your spouse does or what you do by trade or how your family dynamic is. It's a lot of work, and it's an everyday work. So first, I wanted to say that, which I think is very important to be said right out of the gate. But
so
what's
I'm
matter?
a lot of work?
No.
I thought it was so easy.
I said it, not you.
The thing. Got it. The process. You better watch out. Everything's gonna be recorded now. So anything you say can and will be
held. Yep.
Used
Okay.
against you.
So
and your voice, you have a much better voice than I do.
No.
Yeah, I think you do. I think you sound much smoother.
Wait, sir, reel it in.
Okay. All right, we're back. Go
We're
ahead.
back.
The key to making
So, not
it
the
work. All the keys.
There's a lot of keys. And so that's why I think it probably would be a good idea for us to do more than just this one, because it's not a one-hit thing. So we can do that. But first, I think because we have a lot of new listeners and people that may know about you and about what you do and have heard about, the places that you've gone, the people you've spoken to, the companies you've been with, and then the everyday in their businesses and in their relationships and coaching them through some things, how you got started and what got you on this whole journey of personal development, team development, life change, everything. Where did this all start for you? I think that's really important for people to hear right now.
Okay. Cliff Notes version, 2006, my stepfather died. His name was John. He was a physician. He got very sick suddenly. He passed away right after coming to Atlanta. That's where Jennifer and I were. He came down there to be with me during the surgery that I had to have. I'd busted myself up really bad, and he came to be with me. And then he went back home. He was going to see his patients, and on the drive home, he started coughing really bad, started not feeling well, and he passed away very soon after that. And so last time I saw him was after surgery, and he was fine, and then he was gone. And so I spoke at his funeral. My mom asked me to share some things there, and I did. And as I was looking out there speaking to, there were hundreds of people there, I just heard this voice say, "This is what I'd like for you to do." And, for me, I knew what it meant. I didn't know how it was going to roll out, how it would manifest. But anyway, I wound up making the commitment to speaking and helping people the way that my stepdad had, because I saw how much he impacted people's lives. It was evident there at the service when he passed away, because people were just wrecked, and he was such a great guy. And so I made the commitment, had no idea how it would work, wound up meeting my pastor in Atlanta. He allowed me to speak at the church. I wound up meeting then my mentor, Mr. Clemmer, who I worked for. He passed away. He passed away at almost exactly the same age as my stepfather did. He passed away very suddenly. And then I was at the crossroads of whether to continue on with this and carry on the things that I had learned from working with him, or go back to doing what I did before, which was real estate, which I still have a love for. But we committed to staying the course on this, and we did, and we have. And now having our own company and working with the teams that I've gotten to work with has been amazing. And yeah, you've been a great support of that. And I've gotten to work with, yes, big companies. I've worked with everybody from American Express to NASA, some of the largest private companies in the world, the U.S. military, and then I work with a lot of businesses on a weekly basis, doing trainings for their teams, doing video virtual stuff where I'm talking and interacting and asking questions, and that's really where we are now. And so this podcast is a part of something that we are doing to reach more people. The downloads have been great. The number of people we're reaching are great. Those are growing really quickly. We're seeing that, which is neat. And so here we are. So now 13 years in, and it's been a crazy ride, but the old saying, wouldn't have it any other way. I really wouldn't. And you've been a part of it, such a huge part of us being able to do this. And so, yeah, I'm excited. More to come, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So go on, share what you were sharing. There's keys to it.
No, yeah, that's one thing I think everybody needs to be very clear on, even myself. It's not any one thing that's going to change a relationship, make it better, or one goal to work toward or whatever. It's just an everyday process. It's a lot. Mm-hmm. It's a lot to keep in mind. It's a lot to practice and be consistent with.
Yeah. So of all the keys, like you're saying, there's a lot of them. If we got right to it today, what would you say is the first key, first component, first necessary thing for what's made our relationship work and what you believe is all relationships or is needed in all relationships? What would you say that is?
Well, speaking on behalf of our relationship, and it's working well, it doesn't have to work well for other people. It's working well for us, which is what's most important. We're building our relationship and our family, and I think we're doing a pretty darn good job. So I think one thing that has been a huge component has been the old cliche, communication. But I think we look at communication a little differently than most people might look at it, as we have it broken down into different parts of being, very open and vulnerable, being very honest with our communication, and being very responsible for how we communicate with each other. So those three could be broken down into different parts. So we can either just focus on one right now, or all three real quickly if you want.
So open, honest, and responsible. Tell me what does that mean?
Openness for me means being willing to change with kind of the ebb and flow of how your relationship is going to change, and being open to hearing what the other person has to say, being open to feedback, constructive criticism, in love. What's one thing that I think of when I think of open communication or being open to communication changing is, we look at our kids and we go, well, I'm going to have to talk to my 2-year-old differently than I talk to my 5-year-old. You talk to your 5-year-old differently than your 10-year-old because they're growing and seasons are changing. They're thinking differently. They're acting differently. So I think that can go also with any relationship that you're in, whether it be an intimate relationship or a business relationship or family. Seasons are going to change. People are going to change. Therefore, your communication has to change, and you have to be open to that. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like being open to things changing and the way you communicate, that is a big deal. Mm-hmm. That's one form of being open. Then there are other ways of being open as well.
Right. So the open to the seasons being different. So one of the things that I'm understanding more and more is that we are moving into different seasons. Like when we're talking about our children getting older, they're growing, they talk differently. There are different things going on that they're noticing, that they're picking up on. So obviously the dialogue is very different.
Right.
And, the open part of it is being willing to have dialogue with where they are at, remembering that they're listening, they're hearing, they're observing through the lens of whatever age they are. And so the openness is knowing that not everybody hears the way that we hear or sees it the way that we see it because of different seasons of life. And I'm seeing that more and more as my parents have gotten a little bit older. It's different. And my parents are grandparents, and my in-laws, they are grandparents. And, there's different seasons, and we're the parents now. But as you move into those, you start to see things very differently. But the conversations being, when you're open to that, is that you understand that not everybody sits in the same seat that you sit in. And so how you're listening is unique to what psychologists call framing. You're framing what you hear through a certain lens into something that's unique for you. And so the openness is not thinking that everybody has to see it or hear it exactly the way you do. And so there's an openness to the feedback of it. There's a willingness to make adjustments and adapt. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Right.
And it lands well with me. But I think with a team, if you're thinking about working with your team, your coworkers, the people that you work alongside, remembering that not everybody's looking at the situation, not with just a different opinion, but a very, very different lens of perspective of how they see it. Like that's empowering when you can stay open to that come from. Completely.
So good.
You're sitting over there pondering it like, God, I married this guy and he's amazing. That's
I'm
not
deep
what you're
in thought.
thinking. You're not sitting over there thinking how amazing I am?
I am.
Also, but you're also deep in thought about what it is that I just shared.
I am.
Yeah. So the openness part, and then tell me a little bit about, you mentioned being responsible. So there was the honesty and there's the openness and then the responsible component. Speak to that really quickly. I'll share a few things and then we can shuffle off the podcast coin today and be done. So what you got with the responsible part?
I feel like just myself being responsible with anything that I say as a result of how I'm feeling in the moment. And that's where things can change from day to day or moment to moment, hour to hour. I sit in a different seat than you do throughout the day. You are running this business most of the hours of the day. This is your focus. Most of the hours of the day, I have the 5-year-old tagging along with me. I'm just doing a lot of different things, wearing a lot of different hats. And so I sit in a different seat than you sit in. So for us, in our marriage, I feel like being responsible with how I think and what I'm about to say to you, I have to take a step back and always know that what am I about to say, and is it coming across because of how I feel in the moment, or is it something that needs to be said to help us grow? It's always an assessment, I feel like, and being responsible for what I'm saying, how I'm saying it, and just the different roles that we play.
Yeah, and also in how you're feeling too. Like that's a big component, is like when you take responsibility for how you're feeling because of what you're focused on. Like you can be so focused on something you don't like, you start to feel negative, and then you speak from that place. Then now you're talking negative, you're taking jabs at people, you're speaking down to people, you're very condescending. Like that's a big part of it, of the responsibility part. I know for you, we talk about this a lot, is taking responsibility for the experience you're creating, and then from what you speak from.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Totally. And that also causes me to think about, if we are in, which we never disagree,
Of course we don't.
No.
We really don't.
We really don't have that much.
We don't have a lot of arguments.
We don't.
When we disagree, and we disagree on things, we know that we look at a lot of things differently.
Obviously. But if they're
like not many people look at things the way that I do.
So perfectly.
Thank you. Let's get back to it. So
back to
that point, the responsibility
Focus.
for the experience that's being created.
Right. So if there's ever a time, just an example, where we are disagreeing about something, or if you say something to me that I hear it, not the way that you meant for me to hear it, but I hear it differently, and then I come back to you and say, when you said this to me, you made me feel like that. However, you made me feel. That's one thing I think that a lot of people don't understand. Just that languaging of you made me feel this way. You didn't make me feel that way. I heard you the way that I heard you. And as a result, I chose to feel like you were putting me down, or however it is in the moment that I was feeling, or any person is feeling, just from that conversation. So instead, just the change of languaging, I think, is a big deal. When you said this to me, I chose to feel this way, insert blank. So you said to me, blank, I chose to feel blank as a result. Mm-hmm. That, I think, is that also all encompassing of open and honest, also responsible communication when we do that. Just changing the languaging and being open and saying, when you said this, this is how I chose to feel. Mm-hmm. So that it also honors the other person at the same time, instead of then going back and firing back and then possibly dishonoring that person.
Right.
Instead of it being responsible. I think that's always been a really good example that we were given that example a long time ago. It's what we use all the time.
Yeah, we've done that well. I do believe that, and there's always more work to be done on it, but I know that we've done that well. But being willing to look at what you are creating personally, and instead of saying, you made me feel this thing, it's more like, you said this, and what I chose to create as a result was that meant you don't value me, or that meant you don't love me, or that you don't respect me, or you're not considerate of me. Like, that's what we can create. And a lot of times what we've done is we've looked right at that and spoken from that place, that this is what I made it mean, and this is what went down. And it's amazing how much of the BS stuff we can just cut out and get to the core of, well, that is not in any way what I mean. This is what I was saying. And that's a practice, and it's an art of getting to the core of things. And I think we do that well.
Yeah.
And I think that's a part of being responsible for the experience I'm creating. Like, you don't make me mad. You do things that I assess and say, oh, she shouldn't have done it that way, shouldn't have said it that way, whatever. The critique of it is what gives me the opportunity to either be frustrated or not. And, when we see that, that's where, when people aren't responsible and don't take ownership, it's like there's always the knee-jerk reaction to whatever's going on. You said it, their honor is a big part of that. I don't want to go on anymore with this. We're almost 20 minutes into this, and so I know that this has been great. I've loved listening to you. Having you here has been really awesome. I do think your voice is way better than mine. It's smoother, and anyway. But
agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree. But you said honor, and so let's talk about that one in the next episode. So we'll do the next episode, and we'll touch on this idea of honor, what that looks like. I know what that means to me, and how important and how important I believe that it is moving forward towards a healthier relationship, healthier teams, healthier life in general. So let's talk about honor next time.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, is creating a healthy environment, a healthy marriage, healthy relationships. It's not about what it looks like on the surface ever, because that will go nowhere really fast. So I think that's a good way to put it, is creating healthy dynamics, Yeah.
Cool.
Maybe with this, what's a challenge we could leave with people when it comes to any kind of, like, if they feel like they're going to go home from listening to this, what's a challenge we could give them to do with their spouse or their kids when they get home, or when they get back to work tomorrow with their team?
So I think the question I would pose to people that I'm working with is, is it really the thing that you say it is that's frustrating you? Or is it the response that you create within yourself, assessing and critiquing and judging what you see, that's frustrating you? Which is it? And chances are you would probably say, well, it's my critique, it's my response that frustrates me. And if that's the case, then when you go home, or as you said, Jennifer, you go to work tomorrow, or start dealing with life and doing what you're doing, that you stay self-aware in that before you'd say, this thing is making me angry, that you check yourself and say, no, my perspective on this is making me angry, and what can I do to shift this perspective? Because it's the old saying that if you change the way you look at things, those things change. But if you can't change that thing, then you've got to be willing to change the way you're looking at it. So that's what I'm thinking. So how about that as the challenge, is that instead of getting home tonight or working with your team or seeing your team and blaming and going, well, they do this and that makes me mad, just taking the ownership that it is your perspective. And from that place, I think you're then more empowered to make a shift in what it is that you're looking at and the way you're looking at it. And that's how I think things can improve. I think it improves how you feel, your energy. I think your being, it starts to shift. And I think that's how you just get better and better at doing life. I think that's a great challenge.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good.
Well, let's do this then. We'll do another one. Thanks, Jen, for being on again. You're amazing. And if you guys have any questions for us, you can email us, info@dossteam.com. Also, we have all these resources, video resources and things on my website, ronniedoss.com. We've got things there that are hundreds and hundreds of videos to help you also in your life, really easily accessible. A lot of great things ahead. Again, ronniedoss.com. Visit our website. Any questions, email us. Thanks for being on. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.